Welcome to a new series where we're going to be reviewing the cars in the FC stable. Transparency is critical in this business, and so we figured the best way to be transparent is to, well, drive the cars and judge them as an enthusiast would. What we're going to be doing here is focusing more on the car's characteristics, the philosophies of the tuning behind these cars, points that we like, and points that may need some improvement. We figured that this would be the perfect candidate to start off. So, let's go for a drive. What we have here is what I'm calling a track focus customization. I can't call it a fully dedicated track car as the interior and AC remain intact. The AC though, I am especially grateful as it is hot as hell in Japan. The wide body kit to fit the 255/40 17s on all four corners, carbon fiber treatment in the form of the GT wing, front splitter, canards, and composite undertray help give the S15 some track-like attributes in the form of downforce. And now typically, I'm very skeptical of parts creating downforce as it's rare to find aftermarket parts that have undergone extensive research and analysis to prove their effectiveness at reducing lift. What I can say though, is this S15 is incredibly stable at mid to high speed corners. It feels planted, it builds confidence, it just goads you to drive faster and faster. The brakes are Brembo, 4 pots up front and 2 in the rear. The previous owner also installed a Willwood brake bias adjuster. The stock turbo that came with the SR20 has been swapped out for an HKS GT-RS. The GT-RS isn't what you would call a big turbo, but it is decent size for the SR20. This equates to lag down below 4,000 RPM. However, once you're in the sweet spot, onto the suspension. And the previous owner changed out the coilovers for a set of HKS Hypermats. I don't know what the spring rates are front to rear, but what I do know is that when we took delivery of the car, it was in its stiffest setting, and oh my god, was it unbearably stiff. Oh, it was so stiff that if you looked at a pebble while driving the wrong way, you would feel your soul starting to gyrate up and down as it was anticipating the bounces. Oh, it was awful. So, I slackened off the dampeners to be able to drive on anything that's not an F1 graded racetrack. And even then, it's still pretty stiff if you hadn't noticed in the footage. Also, by slackening the dampener, the car lost part of its character, its handling characteristic, one more specific. Before, it had this razor sharp flick of the wrist steering, which was really nice. I enjoyed that. But that's gone with the dampers being slackened off now. It's not bad, it's still very good. It's just doesn't have that agility that it used to. Perhaps if we were to add a bit more toe out up front, you can get some of that characteristics back, but yeah, I guess it is what it is for now. The front is darting a bit all over the place as it's sniffing out all the imperfections in the road. But I guess if you're on a racetrack, that's not really a big concern of yours. So, let's pull over and talk about the cabin, because there's a lot going on here. Great sound. On to the interior. So the first thing is the seating position. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but we're sitting kind of at an angle. The seats have raked a bit. And the idea behind this is once you sit back into the chair, it forces you to look further down the road. Now, the reason you'd want this is if you're on a racetrack, you always want to be scanning the next couple curves ahead. You want to be able to know what's coming up so you can place your car on the track in the most effective way to get, I guess, the quicker lap time would be the whole point behind that. Also, an added bonus of doing this, it puts your center of mass lower into the car. So again, handling characteristics should be improved by that. And it makes you feel like you're surrounded, like you're in the car and not riding on it. Now, if I'm totally honest, I used to not like this. It's kind of an odd position to be driving in, and especially if you're just driving around the area. And if you want to see what you're about to hit, you gotta lean forward to make sure you're not hitting anything. And so I thought that was kind of silly. But the more I got used to it, the more I came to enjoy it. It's actually quite nice. The bride seat holds you nice and firm, which is what you really want. So that's cool. An added bonus, it puts the shifter in the ideal place for me. I am kind of a tall person, 183 centimeters. So normally when I'm driving Silvias or other cars like it, it's more of like a flick of the wrist to shift. I'm not really moving my arm. But because of the seating position, I actually can use my whole arm to roll through the gears, which is quite nice. Speaking of gears and rolling gears, the shifter is a Nismo short shifter, and that's actually attached to a 5-speed transmission out of an ER34. The clutch is a twin disc carbon fiber unit from ATS. Typically, a lot of people say that the twin disc or the carbon fiber disc, they have a very sensitive engagement point. I guess for lack of better words, it's very grabby. Now, my personal car also has a twin disc in it, so to me this is perfect. I love it. The difference is between this Silvia and my personal car is it's not carbon fiber, so the pedal effort in this it's like stock. It's nice. So this light pedal and this 5-speed and this seating position is actually a really nice place to be in once you get used to the seating position. On par for tuning of this era, we have gauges everywhere. We have water temp, we have boost pressure, we have oil temp, we have shift lights, we have rev counter, we have a boost timer, we have a ZD advanced system which also has the sequential indicators for when you're supposed to shift as well. That too relays vital information like your oil pressure, your water temp. So yeah, there's a lot going on in here, but as a whole, it's not a bad place to be. So, what do we think? I think with a few more adjustments, a couple tweaks here and there, this thing could be an absolute weapon on the track. I would change out the springs. Again, I don't know what settings they are or what spring rates they are, but I would change them to get a bit more compliance out of suspension, and I would add a bit more toe out up front. Try to get that razor sharp handle again. Oh, also the two-way in the back, it's gotta go. It's a Nismo, but I think a 1.5 would suit this car and the application better than the two-way. I don't really understand the decision behind the two-way in the first place. Then we can go down the rabbit hole of modifying this, adjusting that, etc., etc. But we want to hear from you. What would you do if you had this S15? Would you keep the two-way? Don't keep the two-way. But for real though, what would you do if you had this? Let us know in the comments below. I think I'm going to enjoy this S15 just a little bit more.